Hey everybody, I'm Jack Reedy with Future Pastimes. I'm a designer of Dune-themed games, and we are reading Dune. So we are on to a chapter that starts with a passage from Princess Irulan's Manual of Muad'Dib that talks about the Fremen who shouted Mahdi at Paul Atreides when they saw him, which feeds into this legend of a possible savior because he's the son of a Bene Gesserit, which is part of the legend. This thing called the Lisan al-Gaib, which is the voice from the outer world. And that's going to feed into part of what happens in this chapter as we learn what some of that is about. So this is a scene with Duke Leto and a Thufir that immediately follows the long chapter before it, which was a big strategy meeting. And in this one, part of it is because the Duke feels like he needs to talk to Thufir about this rumor of the traitor, and he's especially certain that he needs to have that conversation when he comes into the room and he sees Thufir looking really tired and just kind of anxious, and he figures, well, Thufir's a mentat, so he probably knows about this rumor somehow, and I need to try to allay his fears as much as possible, so I'm going to confide in him. And he phrases it in a way, he's like, look, Thufir, as one of the few people I know I can absolutely trust, we've had these two different reports about a traitor in our midst. And Thufir did know about it because they had intercepted part of a message from a Harkonnen courier, and it was supposedly partially dissolved by an acid trap that can be set when the message is going to be discovered. So they just have a fragment, but the fragment pretty clearly lays out who the traitor potentially could be. So I'll read you. It says, Ito, as in Leto, will never suspect, and when the blow falls on him from a beloved hand, its source alone should be enough to destroy him. And so for Thufir, that is unequivocally a reference to Lady Jessica, the woman that he loves. And the Duke, he knows as well what that means, but he's like, there's just no way. But Thufir is not convinced. He's not convinced that it's no way. He's like, it's very likely, yes, the Lady Jessica. And because he's played out all the possibilities in his head, he's like, yeah, she doesn't know her parentage, and what if she learned that she is an orphan and she was orphaned by the Atreides, that alone? And Duke is like, she would never, sell out her own son. And Thufir's like, we're not talking about selling out the son, we're talking about you. And the Duke is like, well, she's had plenty of opportunity to kill me. And Thufir's like, it's not about killing you, it's about destroying you. And this would do it. Wouldn't you be destroyed if you learned that that was the case? And the Duke is like, we're just gonna not talk about this anymore. Not any. He doesn't shut Thufir down. But he just, he sort of pretends to agree with it so that they can move on. But he's like, no, I just can't. I can't believe it to be true. And he voices, again, this could just be so that I'm suspecting the woman that I love and the father, the mother of my son. And Thufir's like, yeah, I considered that as well. But he's just like, nope. Because in Thufir's mind, he's like, who could it be? It can't be Dr. Yui. He's got the imperial conditioning and assurance of trust. Plus, he's not that high up, not as high up as a Duncan, Idaho, or a Gurney. And he's like, it's definitely not them. He's like, I know it's not me. And it's not Paul. That would be absurd. So that really only leaves Lady Jessica in Thufir's mind. And so he wants to have her surveilled. And the Duke is like, okay, keep it discreet. And but yeah, he's a little bit demoralized by the end of this chapter. And Thufir's like, you had asked about something else. And the Duke is like, no, I'm done. And he's like, well, it was, the Fremen yelling Mahdi out there. It's because of a local legend. It fits into, the Messiah complex legends that you'll see on many worlds. And they think that Paul they hope that he might be this savior. And the Duke is like, okay, great. And he's kind of like, whatever, I can't even deal with it. And he goes outside and it's almost dawn and he sees the sun rising and it's really beautiful. In fact, there's a guard there who's like, it's a beautiful morning, sire. And the Duke is like, it is. And he's starting to think, yeah, maybe this isn't such a hellhole after all. This could be a good home for me and for my son. But then as the light comes up and he sees the people collecting dew, he's like, yeah, no, this could be a real hellhole, and probably will be. And so I love this chapter a lot, and it's because of a couple of reasons. One is that I really feel like it adds so much more depth to Duke Leto. He's not just this far off do-gooder, flawless character. He's conflicted. He's human. It really, I think, puts him in a relatable context. Thufir as well. You can see that he's got so much on his mind, and he's a mentat, so that's the whole point. But he's an old mentat, and but is he still sharp? And maybe his age and wisdom is being used against him. And so that's the real question here. This is a scene that hasn't really been adapted, and I miss it. I would have loved to have seen Stephen McKinley. I can't remember his name, but you know who I'm talking about. The actor who plays Thufir. I think he would have really chewed up the scenery on this one, and Oscar Isaac as well. This would have been a great scene for them to really go at it, and really, in fact, in the context of the movie, we as the audience don't know who the traitor is. They give it away here in the book. We know early on who the traitor is as we're reading it, but not in the movie. It was presented a little bit as a surprise. Not a big surprise because it wasn't a big character, but a scene like this would have really added the tension in there. And I think, the way that they're portraying Lady Jessica, they could have really dialed up that possibility and keep the audience guessing as to who the traitor is. It would have had a lot more impact, I think. And if they had really gone into more of who could it be and who can't it be and why, I would have loved to have seen stuff like that. So this is a chapter that I miss. I do recognize that in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really hurt anything moving forward in the overall plot of the entire book. So it's understandable, but sorely missed as well. And again, I love the way that they do their analysis and their strategies and the stuff that's going on around them and how it all feeds into it. So again, it's a short chapter, but again, rich with tension and the kind of details that bring the characters to life. So those are my thoughts on this one. Let me know your thoughts if you're reading along and what you think about it. Did you miss this in the movie? And if so, why? Or did you like, well, whatever, didn't matter to me? Sure, let's hear that as well. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.